women have been serving in the military since the American Revolution. Officially, women, since World War II, there's been 350,000 of us serving officially since World War II. So I stand on their shoulders. They worked to prove themselves every day. And so I'm thankful for that I get to actually have a 34-year career as a female. I'll tell you, the military was never on my radar. I ran out of money my freshman year in college. And I walked into the ROTC building because somebody told me they were giving out scholarships. And I came out with a 3-year full-ride scholarship and an 8-year commitment in the U.S. Army. And if any of you are old enough to remember Private Benjamin, I was probably a lot like Goldie Hawn. But I ended up graduating from college and commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army as a military police corps officer. And off to training I went at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And then I spent 3 weeks learning how to jump out of airplanes because I could. And then I went to Fort Bliss, Texas to meet my unit in El Paso, Texas. The problem was they weren't there. They were deployed to Honduras. And so I got on a plane in December of 1989, right before the holidays, and flew to meet my unit in Honduras. So Second Lieutenant Clellan was in charge of 33 men and women, military policemen and women, who all had a heck of a lot more time in the military than I did. So I quickly had to earn the trust and respect of those soldiers. And I had to prove myself. Luckily, we were deployed. So we spent 24/7 together. We ate, slept, played, worked for 4 months. And I did missions with them. We ran the convoys through the jungles of Honduras, and we played a lot of cards and spit-shined a lot of boots and really got to know my troops. And at the end of that, I did earn their trust and respect. When we returned to Fort Bliss, I had a little experience now under my belt, but within months we were getting called up to go to Desert Shield. So off to Desert Shield we went, except this time it wasn't a normal rotation, it wasn't a normal deployment. There was a heaviness about this because we didn't know where we were going or what we were going to do. There was a lot of uncertainty, and frankly, it was scary. And we took all of our equipment, and we used all of our equipment. So imagine we're out in the middle of the desert, and we're living in tents, sleeping on cots, no running water, and we were lucky if we had fuel for our generators to have electricity. It was pretty austere conditions. But you know, people are amazing, right? The human nature of how to survive and thrive in challenging conditions, it really shows up. And it showed up with my platoon and our company. And talk about resilience. I mean, those kinds of experiences really build resilience. I have a vivid memory I'll share with you of that deployment. We were sitting in a bunker in the middle of a desert that we had built, and we were getting ready to bomb Iraq during Desert Storm. And we were all in our chemical and biological gear, gas mask, the whole gear, gloves, everything. And we were sitting in our bunker waiting to see what was next. And we could hear the bombs north of us in Iraq going off. But we didn't really know what was going on unless it was on our transistor radios. And that's how we were listening to the war. ABC covering, Desert Storm. We're all sitting there listening. But it was scary. It was scary. And it really did bring us together and make us stronger. And the connections that we made as a platoon ran deep. So when we returned back from Desert Storm, we had several that decided to get out because they checked the combat block. But many stayed in. And about 8 months later, we were deploying again. We were deploying to Panama. And this time, Noriega was already gone, and it was a pretty cush deployment. We had running water. We lived in buildings. We did law and order, pretty easy mission. And matter of fact, before we went to Panama, we knew that we would have the opportunity to scuba dive. So we all got certified to scuba dive. And that was our morale building that the platoon did. We went scuba diving together. It was great camaraderie. I had great people, great NCOs and soldiers and non-commissioned officers. But I decided at that time that I was going to get out of the military. I was tired of living out of a suitcase. I was tired of having my stuff in storage all the time. And that 8-year commitment, they were offering early outs after Desert Storm, so I got out. And I thought I was done with the military, and that was 1992. I actually went right into teaching school, middle school science, south of I-10 in El Paso, Texas, a month after I got out on an emergency certification. That is a whole nother TEDx. But my military skills came in handy. So I moved to Colorado, continued teaching in Colorado for a couple of years, and I got a cold call one day from a major in the reserves saying, "Hey, would you like to join the reserves?" And I thought about it, and I'm like, I miss the people. I was a school teacher, so I could have used the extra money. And so I joined the reserves in Denver, Colorado. And we got to go out and do training and things that were really fun. And I signed up for extra stuff in the summer because I could. And met some great friends, so I got that people connection back. But about a year later, I ran into somebody in the National Guard, and they said, "Hey, you want to join the National Guard? They have a military police company, and we're looking for a commander." I'm like, "Oh, that'd be great." So I applied for the job, and I got the job. And a month after I took command, guess what? We got notice we were deploying. And this was shocking because it was 1998, and the National Guard wasn't deploying. It was pre-9/11. We were going to Hungary, Operation Joint Forge. So we spent a year training up for that deployment, trying to do some discovery learning, figure out how to deploy the National Guard again, because it had been a while. And I remember in April, as we were getting ready, the Columbine school shooting happened. And I was in my classroom teaching, and I got a call from my unit saying, "Hey, they want us to go secure the perimeter at Columbine." I literally went home, changed into my military uniform, and we secured the perimeter at Columbine High School. And it was extremely emotional. It was very difficult for all of us. But that's what the National Guard does. We respond when the communities need us most. So we went to Hungary. We did law and order on the base. We ran convoys to Croatia. It was actually a pretty fun mission. And I had a group of people in this military police unit that were some of the best soldiers and officers I've ever met in my life. And they came from all walks of life as far as their civilian skill sets. Some were police officers, some were firefighters, school teachers, and they brought all of those civilian skill sets to that deployment. And we were pretty successful. Matter of fact, some of the folks that I went with, we still keep in contact. I still serve with many of them. We say it was kind of like a European vacation. But don't tell anybody that. So I'm going to fast forward. We got back from Hungary in 2000, and I'm going to fast forward because I served in some staff assignments and did some other things in the military, started working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, doing adult training and teaching. In 2007, I had the opportunity to take command of a newly stood up military police battalion. And those folks that I had deployed to Hungary with were part of that battalion. So I had the A team, and we were going to go to Afghanistan, and we were going to run a detention facility in Bagram. None of us had ever done that mission before, and we had a year to train up and get ready for it. I actually took extra time off from the VA to really focus on that. And we built an amazing team. And it was at that point in my career that I learned the importance of having a vision and putting a strategy to that vision. And our vision was we were going to be a best practice in detainee operations. And this was after Abu Ghraib, and we knew you could not have a strategic mistake. And we were in charge of 1,000 soldiers and sailors who were in charge of taking care and control and custody of about 1,500 detainees. It was high stress, extremely challenging, but the memories I have about that deployment are all really fun, positive memories. It was the hardest job I've ever had in my life, and I doubt I'll have one harder. But the people on my team were amazing. And we were highly successful in that mission. We were a best practice. When we got back, people sought after us to have us come train and teach on how to do detention operations. A lot of us rode the success of that deployment out and went on into higher level jobs in the National Guard. Got promoted, and I served in some other staff positions. And I'm going to fast forward to 2014. I actually was selected to command the Army National Guard in Colorado. It's a 1-star general officer billet. And I'm still working at the VA. And of course, I wouldn't turn that down. It was a great opportunity to now lead the soldiers of the Army Guard in Colorado, 3,600 of them, and make sure that we were ready for our state and federal missions. We set a strategy to get better for the future of the organization. We held ourselves accountable to that. It was a great job. I got to go out and see all of our units training and doing what they love to do. And I had a great team. But in 2009, I decided to retire because I didn't really see myself going anywhere else. By this time, I'm working for U.S. Fish and Wildlife, so I got a little bit of my life back, but I still was not totally retired. And I'm retired in November of 2019, and in May of 2020, in the middle of COVID, the governor called me. I don't have a personal relationship with the governor. I don't know how he got my phone number. And he asked me if I wanted to put my name in the hat for the position I'm in now, the Adjutant General position, a 2-star billet. And of course, I actually wanted to say no because I was retired, but it turns out you can't really say no to the governor. It's really hard. So I took the job right in the middle of COVID. And we have gotten through supporting the state with COVID, supporting wildfires, some of the worst wildfires that we've had. And we've been able to set a strategy through all of that and a vision and work toward it. And so if I were to just sum up my leadership experience and what I've learned, first and foremost, leadership is about people. People get the job done in organizations. They make or break the success. And how you treat people as a leader is very important. How you pull teams together and empower people. That's how you get organizations to be successful. The other thing that I think is extremely important as a leader is that you intentionally work on culture. People want to be part of an organization that they enjoy being part of, that they feel connected to. And we have worked hard to make sure that we have a cohesive organization that people want to come and be part of. And lastly, I learned time and time again the importance of a strategy. Leaders set a vision, they let the team put together the strategy, and then they hold themselves accountable so that you can actually make that work, make that strategy work. That's a nutshell of my leadership experience. Now, what I will say in closing is, although I am the first female in Colorado to be in this position, it only took 160 years, but we got there. Thanks to Governor Polis, he selected me. You know, I don't think I'm a trailblazer, I come into a job and I do the best I can, and I work every day to make the future better for the next generation. But if my presence being in this position has inspired one young female, I am proud to be part of that progress. And I'll leave you with this. You know, we all have a story. I just told you the story of my career. We all have a story. And I would challenge you to tell it. Tell your story, because you never know who you're going to touch with that story, who you're going to impact, and who you may inspire. So go out and tell your stories. And thank you today for listening to mine.